So I got into an argument with somebody a long time ago about spatulas and cooking utensils. Why? Well, I was making scrambled eggs with my friend in the morning because we were both hungry and we wanted to eat, because that's what you do when you're hungry. As we're making this scrambled egg dish, I put down the spatula and I reach for the pepper. And now what you don't know about this spatula is it's not just any spatula. It's a Marvel spatula. Like, you know, the handle has a specific character on it. It's like Iron Man, Groot, you know, Guardians of the Galaxy or whatever. And the time that I had gone to my friend's house before this, I had accidentally left one of these spatulas on a hot pan and I melted it. So this is the second time that I'd done this unconsciously. So my friend looks over at me and he freaks out. He's like, "Tristan, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Okay, sorry, spatula, I'm moving it, it's okay, it's just spatula, dude." And he's like, "No, it's not just a spatula. This is something that I have amassed over years of going to Disneyland, and it's really important to me. So don't just say that it's a spatula." And I'm thinking, it's just a piece of plastic, okay? And also, it shouldn't be, like, if you're gonna make something that is for daily use, especially over a hot pan, you probably shouldn't make it out of plastic. I don't know the genius who decided to do that, who was in charge of that design decision flaw. But anyway, he's like really upset with me because I didn't seem to have the same opinion of what makes a special, how a spatula, how a material item relates to your identity. Clearly we disagree. And this had me thinking, because I see this a lot in people, and it comes up once in Fight Club. You know, when Edward Norton's character is called IKEA Boy, how he, you know, creates his life, his identity through all of the furniture that he buys at IKEA, and, you know, the day that it explodes, he is like, that apartment was my life. You know, I realized that the situation that I just explained to you a minute ago and the scene in Fight Club that we're talking about now are basically one and the same. It's like you find your identity through the things that you own. And now that I'm living here in Japan, I'm seeing this a lot more because Japan's a very consumerist culture, surprise, surprise. I know that's kind of like antithetical to what I'm about. But it's not just these spatulas. It's like it's all sorts of brands that people seem to obsess over for reasons that I can neither explain nor understand. Because this obsession exists in our culture, people are willing to spend thousands of dollars on, for example, a shopping bag, a purse at a Christian Dior department store, instead of just maybe finding something at Goodwill, or even just a plastic bag that does the same thing, has the same utility. But because we associate such an image with Christian Dior, Gucci, or whatever, Disney, Marvel, we don't see that they serve basically the same purpose. There's some kind of representation, like a status symbol that we want others to see when we go out into the world with these things, or maybe not even when we go out into the world, when our friends come over and they see our spatulas. But then it becomes so important to us that, like, you know, minor damages to these things almost feel like minor damages to ourselves. And I let go of this a very, very long time ago, this notion that the things I own are basically me, because I'm a believer that it's more about the function of what you own and not the appearance, not the impression that people have of you. Or at least, you know, for example, I own a computer. I own a very, very nice Apple Mac M1. Now, does it need to be an Apple Mac M1? No, it doesn't need to be an Apple Mac M1. It can be another computer with the same amount of gigabytes on it. And as long as it functions properly, then I'm okay with whatever. I guess I'm just used to the interface of Apple, which is probably going to piss off a lot of people who are watching this this channel, because usually smart people seem to be more PC types for various reasons that I'm not going to get into right this second. But, you know, anyway, I don't like obsession. I don't like when people are obsessed with brands. And if I could just segue into something else that seriously irritates me. It's when people own these brands, like have these Dior bags or their Gucci wallets or Louis Vuitton key holders, and they want everybody to see it. And then if you, for example, or me, for example, you say like, I just don't really see the point in all of this. There's like this, I can name on multiple hands the amount of times I felt this sort of, you don't have to care about fashion, but I do because it's my prerogative. And fair enough, it is your prerogative. But there's just something that I notice, and it's like this sort of, I'm better than you because you don't have the same nice things that I do. Because I have this item that somehow shows my superiority, demonstrates my superiority over other people around me. And I don't know, it doesn't, it's like a lose-lose in the sense that, one, it doesn't really make people interesting to me, but it's also such a missed opportunity to become an interesting person. Because I'm noticing that the more interesting things in life actually are not very tangible. Like tangible material things versus like the feelings that you have when you experience something profound are, I mean, for one, they're very different, but like think of buying that Dior bag. Maybe that's not a good example because most men aren't interested in Dior bags. Maybe, I don't know, like maybe a nice car, or like a car that is so expensive that you almost don't need it. It doesn't really serve any other purpose other than to show off. And compare that to like learning a skill, you know, like a very hard, arduous skill that requires a lot of time and effort to master. And the dopamine that you, I suppose, receive from mastering that skill versus the dopamine from just buying something, they have to be different in quality to some degree. I know this is sounding like pseudoscience because I'm not a neuroscientist. When I meet somebody who masters a skill and is good at something and defines his or her identity through a thing that they do, whether it be music, art, engineering, IT, whatever, there's like I've noticed a passion. You can sort of sense the passion from that person, that's their identity. You know, they've built that from the ground up. They've worked on that skill. Versus somebody who just wants to look interesting, and maybe they're using a credit card to pay off all of that very expensive bullshit. But you know, just because you have interesting quote unquote, you know, high brand fashion, or you own a Disney spatula set or a Marvel spatula set, doesn't mean that you're an interesting person. It's like a surrogate identity. It's like a substitute identity for what you could actually be. It's like you're replacing something. You know, that's kind of what I'm getting at. You could be interesting through your own means by reading, by drawing, like I said before, but you don't, and you just continue to buy those brands. You waste your money, and it doesn't really seem like, I don't know, I'm biased here because there's like an feeling I get from consumerism in general. But if we just let go of that for a second, maybe saved our money, or like used it towards things that were you know, for the arts, for like to highlight the collective unconsciousness of our society, and not on, you know, this bullshit that I mentioned before. Maybe I don't know, maybe we could be just that much more interesting as a people. But that's obviously the dreamer in me. But I just want to read my notes here. I know too many people now who want their houses to look like the 4th floor of an IKEA and show the world that they're like civilized from the brands that they own, and like then the elitism, or should I say like the pretentiousness, the I don't want to say ostentatiousness, but just, yeah, the pretentiousness that comes from all of that. It's all just ew. It's icky. It's gross. And I wanted to get that off my chest because I see it everywhere now, and I don't know. I feel like a distance from even walking around Shibuya and Shinjuku, where every other corner is just another, department store advertising to you like the next big purse, the next big jacket that you need to own, and then just if you could relate that sentiment, that feeling of that desire of wanting that thing to Schopenhauer, who said that the will to live was basically this thing that from which we all suffer, which tells us that we need to satiate our desires by having sex or buying clothes or whatever, and somehow by satiating it we'll experience happiness. But really what happens is there's that brief moment of satisfaction, and then it's gone, it's over, it's as though you didn't buy the thing in the first place, and then you're off chasing the next consumer good. I mean consumer good in this particular case, because it's about how much shit can you buy and own that makes you feel like you're more of a whole person. But you don't need any of that. You don't need that shit to be happy. And this is, by the way, this is different from this is different from money. I think that maybe money is a good thing because you can feed yourself and you can use money to, well, buy things which might be useful in the future. You can say that money can buy happiness with perfect utility. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I don't think that owning shit you don't need really gets you anywhere other than, like, I don't know, a point where you're almost lacking any true identity. Because the amount of people I know now who just seem to establish themselves through the brands that they own are in innumerable quantities. Sorry, but that's about all. I just wanted to complain to you guys again. But that's about all. Peace out.
Don't say a word. The last one still